are live with Shawn, and Mike in the studio. Two Shawns and a Mike. Welcome, sir.
How's it going?
That's awesome. Cool.
So, I know Shawn, Scrapyard Shawn is all his nickname. Scrapyard. He was like, "Who's on this on the show?" I was like, "Shawn." He was like, "Shawn." It was just like
There you go.
the Spider-Man meme when they're like pointing at each other, you know.
There you go.
Good old Shawn Inception.
There you go. There you
So
go.
from here on out, we're gonna say Scrapyard Shawn, and then Shawn.
There you go.
Scottsdale, Shawn. There we go. Yeah, we were just talking.
There
I
you
think
go.
I had mentioned I was in Scottsdale on the podcast, and little did I know, Shawn lives in Scottsdale, and
There you go.
son of a
There
bee. Very cool, very cool. Well, now I know that's the part about this podcast that I really love is that I've met so many people that a lot overseas, but a lot like right around in my area. That's like
Yeah. No.
not terribly far away.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Matter of fact, I mean, when you mentioned that you're from Ventura and I'm originally from Simi Valley, I'm sure that you probably see my Mini buzzing up and down the coast way long time ago. But we can get into that in a little bit. But
Yeah. It's always fun when you kind of spot one on the road, and you don't see too many in Ventura County. There's a few poking around, but cool. Yeah, I mean that's a good segue. Let's jump into it. Typically, Shawn, the first question I ask is kind of what attracted you to minis. Were you always attracted to minis, or did it kind of just fall in your lap?
well, it's a funny story because I was actually looking back. I was just online for about the last hour trying to find the magazine because my grandfather was a car guy and he would take me to car shows in Los Angeles when I was a kid. And I mean, I've been changing oil since I was 6 or 7 years old with him, and turning a wrench and all that stuff as a kid. But he always had Car and Driver, Road and Track magazines in the house. And when I go visit him, I flip through the magazines, and on the centerfold there was a Mini Cooper. It was a black, just like mine in the background, black, red with black top, and I was just like, "Wow, that is so cool!" And of course, when you're like 10 years old, you're thinking, "It's small, I'm small, it's cool, right?"
Yeah.
And you're looking through it, and then I started, and then I asked him, "Can I take the magazine?" And I kept it, and lo and behold, my stepfather, he was a auto mechanic, and he had his own shop out in San Fernando Valley, and he did stuff for Peterson magazine, Four Wheel and Off Road magazine, so they do lift kits and all that sort of stuff. And the guy that had a shop next to him, and I don't know if you know Jay Weinstein out in San Fernando Valley. He goes back in the 70s and 80s, but he had a mini repair shop, and there was one day when he needed to borrow my stepfather's truck. So my stepfather drove his mini panel van home one day, and it was right-hand drive, and I was like, "Can I take it for a spin?" He said, "Yeah, sure." So I put my mom in what we call the suicide seat, and I just blasted down the road and shifting with your left hand. For all of us over here, that's a whole new experience, and just it's weird. The thing I always found weird in downshifting from third to second is you're going away from yourself versus
Yeah.
pulling towards yourself.
Right.
But no, and it just like, okay. And it's not that you get the fun of the being low to the ground and everybody's looking at you, but there's something about smelling the gas through the Webers. I mean, not the Webers, but the dual SUs through
Yeah.
the dashboard.
There's like no block off at all.
I
It's
mean,
coming
just
right
like,
into the
yeah,
cabin.
it's just like, wow, okay. And they're just, and just you could hear the throttliness of and I think he had dual 1.5 SUs, so it was like you hit the throttle, you hear that, wah,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I think, that was the funny part. That's what got me fired up. And then when I was 17, I'd restored, I had a 1974 Datsun pickup. That was my first car. It was my mom's pickup. And my stepdad, he says, "We're going to rebuild the engine and you're going to do it." And I spent summers working at his shop. So I did that. And then it was time for me to go off to university and leave that vehicle for my brother. And so I was like, And all of a sudden, lo and behold, in my hometown, there's a guy with a '66 Cooper S.
Ooh.
Now, is this one back here? So I got this when I was 17. All right.
Wow.
So that was, and I'm born in '66. So this car was 17 years old when I got it. Okay. But it was gray with a white top, and it had some body repair work done to it that wasn't all nice and good. And it was just, but I looked up the paperwork, and it was original California import into Compton, California. And I think it was December '65. And I did the British Heritage certificate, and it's all on the up and up. It was actually dove gray with a white top, and I probably would at some time look at doing that again because that dove gray looks pretty cool. But there's nothing
Yeah.
better than a red Mini with a black top, as far as I
No.
can.
No,
So,
not at all. Yeah, that's what the heck was that? Did you guys see that?
with the
The little
thumb,
the little thumbs up thing? That was kind of cool. What was that?
I don't know. Is this alive or is this just? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe someone's watching it live. I don't know, but someone liked that comment. The mini gods came
Yeah,
down and said there is nothing better
yeah.
than a red mini Cooper S with a black top.
So the funny thing is that my dad and I had restored a couple cars, and we'd been restoring antiques ever since I was a kid. So I've always worked in the garage. I've always had I've got. I mean, a little later I can turn the camera and show the disaster of my garage here. But I love tools, and I love being able to work with tools. So my dad and I, we restored a '57 Thunderbird. And then my dad had a 1945 fire engine V12. I mean, it just thing was a beast.
Wow.
And we restored a 1929 Model A. So we were
Sick.
doing all sorts of stuff. So I started playing with this car, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna just peel back the paint and see how bad it is. And somebody did a Bondo job on the left front fender that must have been damn near a quarter-inch thick. So I'm like, this
Love
is
it.
horrible. But the trials and tribulations of the Mini is absolutely hilarious because I think in the first week I owned the car, I had no less than three or four smoke coming up from under the dash. Where one of the wires ground. It was one of the wires in the front ground against the grill, and all of a sudden I'm driving. All of a sudden, just smoke's pluming underneath the dash. I'm like, oh, I immediately pull over, turn off the ignition, go to the back, pull the battery cable off, and I'm like, all right, let me try to figure out what's going on. And I think it was that's part of the rite of passage with the Mini. Um, and then of course, I don't know how many of you had your it's the fuel line that comes in the bottom of the SU just pop out and just start
I've not
pumping
had that
fuel
yet.
pumping fuel on the exhaust manifold. Now that's a trick. Enjoy that one.
It
I'm
shoots some
driving.
heads
I'm
up.
driving. All of a sudden, it's like, well, it's like, what's going on? And I open the hood and I look in the back, and of course, the engine's running, and the fuel pump's going, and all of a sudden, it's all over the exhaust
Oh
fan. I'm like,
no.
Oh
damn! And I
no.
just again, it turned into a routine now, and I whip out the fire extinguisher, and I'm standing there, just wait, just so. Uh, so the love and hate relationship with SU carburetors, tuning them, dialing them in, making sure the dash spots are all oiled up and everything's fine and dandy, and then of course let's not even talk about ignition and making certain your points are clean and everything.
Yep.
Downward
This one,
spiral.
this,
Yeah.
this one's changed. I Bresto modded it, and to all the purists out there, to hell with you. You want a pristine Cooper S that you can trailer, take to the park, trailer it over there, go do that. But
I
as
think
far as
there's
I'm,
definitely certain things that are like fine. Like you said, changed from points. Like it makes it a little more reliable. You want to drive it. You don't want to have to dick with that on the side of the road. That's fine.
yeah, no, it's absolutely true. But so over the years, one of my friends in Simi Valley, he raced at SCCA, so he had a Mini and he raced,
Uh-huh.
and going up to Willow Springs, and you guys have seen Ford versus Ferrari, right? The
Oh
Yep.
movie.
yes.
And so the cool part is I took my kids to see that, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're racing at Willow Springs.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been there. My buddies raced against all the cars out there, and it was just the coolest thing to see. But when I think back to this car, I think it was the 6th month I had it. And what did I do? I cracked the crank, you know.
Oh,
Ooh, womp
And you
womp
know,
womp.
it's not a 998 crank. No, it's a Cooper S crank, you know.
Yeah.
What the heck, you know. But you know, I didn't know that the car had, you know, you didn't know what you had when you got it. And so by that
Exactly.
time that the you know, the bearings had worn and it just so rebuild number one happened. And then I had that car. I went to UC Santa Barbara,
Uh-huh.
studied math and economics, and that was my car. I drove that up and down the coast from Simi to Santa Barbara, and you know that was my car around Santa Barbara, and it was a cool car to have at university until some of the frat boys decided to pick the car up and move it. You know, I came back to my
Yeah.
car one day and it's parked perpendicular to the curb, and I'm like, all right, thank God the police didn't come write a ticket for me because that would have been a tough one to explain. So, but
I feel that's a universal thing with minis.
yeah,
Picking them up
yeah,
and moving them, 100%.
yeah,
100%. Yep.
yeah. No, it's crazy. It's crazy, but
So tell us how did you find this then? You were 17. I
Auto
did I?
Trader.
Oh, okay, so you were yeah.
It was, you know, it was just, you know, the Auto Trader magazine was something you get every week, and you'd open it up and look through and flip through. And you know,
Yeah.
honestly, at that time, I was also looking to buy an old BMW 2002 because I thought those were pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, and all of a sudden I saw Cooper S. Oh, it's in my hometown. Oh, let me test drive it. Oh, yeah, I think so. And you know, you just look at it and go, okay, it's mine. It just that's it. So, but it was funny because it wasn't. It was almost like manifest destiny because go back to my childhood. I just had this mindset, my dream of I want to get a Cooper S one day,
Yeah.
and you just kind of leave it out to the universe, and all of a sudden it delivers it right to your hands one day, and you're just like,
Yep.
there it is, and
See, Shawn, you just gotta or scrapyard. You gotta manifest that.
Hey,
yeah,
man, I am trying so hard to manifest another mini in my life right now.
So Shawn, I don't know if you've listened to any of the episodes yet, but we recently met, but so I have a 67 Cooper S, and I think
no,
I told you that, and that's all. It's Mark One Cooper S is most mini guys' dream car, I think, and
well, you got a
it
Mark II then, right?
no, it's the last year. It's right before it switched over as a Mark
Nice.
One. Yeah, very last year. It's like I think it's May or June, I think. But yeah, it was one of those things. It just kind of one day in our little group chat, someone threw in a link, and I was like, "That's in Bakersfield. That's not that far." Like, let me threw out an offer, and definitely wasn't running and driving, or isn't running and driving. But yeah, just they fall in your lap sometimes.
So is it running or not right now?
No. It's
Okay.
far from it. Although the engine apparently was rebuilt and then it just like kind of sat in the corner, so it's
Yeah.
collected some dust. But it realistically, majority of it is there, but the body needs a lot of work. I wouldn't say a lot, but it's a nice patinaed shell. It was a race car apparently, so they did the old 70s 80s de-seaming of the vertical seams. So
Oh, right, right,
I
right.
want to make sure that's nice and solid before I start slapping her
Oh,
back together. But
Hey, maybe it's the one that was
yeah.
racing up at Willow Springs.
maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. That was a green one, green with a white top. So,
Yeah, mine's originally island blue. It's got a lot of different kind of colors on it, but I think that might be island blue and primer. So who knows? We'll see.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cool.
That's
Yeah. I mean, you know, I was thinking about, I don't know if you guys have tried to figure out how many people you can put in a mini. Um, when you're 17 or 18 years old, that curiosity always kicks in. And you know, I never got beyond five in the mini. I never tried. Just like,
Not trying hard enough, Shawn.
I know, I know. I just
you
was
didn't
like,
utilize the boot space.
well, you know, the funny thing is that, you know, at the end of the semester break, some people would need a lift home. And and a friend of mine, she lived in Northridge, so I'm like, yeah, just keep your bags to a minimum, you know. So, and I think when I pulled up to her parents' house, her dad walks out, and he was kind of like floored that we went all the way, from Santa Barbara and hit the 101 and into Northridge. It was like,
A little bit of a haul, yeah.
a little
That's
bit of a
it.
haul, but
Probably
yeah,
2 hours in a mini.
yeah. And I
That's fun.
remember I was thinking about some fun things where now this kind of ties into some music, but the Hollywood Palladium in downtown Los Angeles is where I saw Echo and the Bunnymen when they first came to LA and played, and then the Smiths came and played, and I took my brother and his buddy, and so we took my Mini to the concert and drove all the way to the Hollywood Palladium on Sunset Boulevard, and then after the concert, took Sunset Boulevard all the way to Pacific Coast Highway and went up the coast with the Mini, and that's just such a cool drive with the Mini. Just
Oh yeah.
so.
Oh yeah. I live right off of PCH, so in Oxnard here, the Rice Avenue turns
Yep.
into PCH, and that's where so it's like boom, right out my house, and I just hit it and just early morning drives over to like
Yep.
Neptune's Ned or some of the canyons
Yep.
right there. It's just, I love it. It's the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I used to work in Oxnard in the tall tower there for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, off of what was it? Not Seaward. It was what the heck is that street? Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Something
No,
like that.
yeah. So
That's funny. Small world, you know?
yeah,
I always make fun of other Shawn here because it's like, oh yeah, I did a road trip in the Mini, and it's like I went 2 or 3 times the size of the UK, and I always talk about how big the United States is, and then boom, here we go. We're talking about all the same spots that we live in right now. That's funny.
one of the funny things I remember was I would when I'd be driving back to school from Simi, and you're taking 101 up Pacific Coast Highway, and for Scrapyard Shawn up this highway, you got a lot of petroleum trucks, the big 18 wheelers.
Nice.
And I'm sitting down low, like this, and I had my camera, and there was this one company called I think Beneteau, I think was the name of it, and they always had the most pristine trucks, polished aluminum, and everything was polished. So that big wheel comes by, and the center
Yeah.
hubcap, right, the big center cap on this wheel, and I take the camera, and I take a picture of myself in the, in the center cap of that big 18 wheeler. Just the
That's
guy,
got to
the
be
guy
done.
he would have run me over and not even noticed.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
thing that was kind of freaky about that road. So,
Jeez.
Anytime I'm driving on the highway here, and there's tons of 18 wheelers, but it's like once you kind of get past that, you could die if they just cut you off. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Have
like,
you
yeah,
guys
I love looking at the hubcaps. That is
it's
cool.
funny.
have
It's
you
a
have you guys
perfect
seen
perfect
the
angle.
have you guys seen the video, the Mini Cooper? I think it's like a late Rover one joining the freeway, and it just does a 360-degree turn.
Is that
Honestly, that
real though? I don't.
genuinely, yeah, I think it is.
It
I mean,
looked it
It
looked
looks
so
terrifying.
fake, but like I mean,
it's like recovery of the award year goes to ta-da.
yeah, like what?
Yeah.
How did that even happen? Like that looked so fake, but it's like because it's so small.
Yeah, no, it just he's spinning around, and that was I saw that. Actually, my sons sent me that, and they were like, "Dad, did you see this?" I'm like, "Damn." Gee.
How old's your son? Is he into minis and cars too,
I
or?
have two. I have a 17-year-old, and I
Oh,
have a 14-year-old. The 17-year-old, he doesn't have petrol in the veins.
nah.
14-year-old,
Uh,
I'm afraid of
Uh
because
oh.
we go drive. I drive him to school in the morning, and he's, "Oh, Dad, there's a Hellcat." I'm like,
Uh
oh no.
well, first of all, I'm just not a Dodge guy. I don't have Mopar in my veins. I'm like,
yeah.
really? Come on, let's find a Camaro or something, please.
Yeah.
But he he's he comes out, and I've right now the engine's not in it because rebuild number three, but uh, he's the one that's expressed interest, so he's helped me. We took off the head, and I'm like, okay, explaining him the stuff. He's okay, so And then, but he's really into photography, so he gets in and sits in the car and he's taking pictures, and then he gets close up, and he's get these
Yeah.
interesting perspectives. So I think he's got an interest in cars. But I joke with my father. I said, "Oh God, when he gets he's gonna have a lead foot. I know it. I just know it."
He's gonna be
So,
like, Dad, can I take it to school? Let me take it to homecoming and prom and
oh,
That's
oh,
it. And if it's not yours, drive it like you stole it, surely.
oh, absolutely.
Hey,
Well,
that's a good combo though. The photography, I feel like photography and classic cars go hand in hand, man. Like
oh,
that's it's a cool
it's
thing. You could get to work on your car, take pictures of it, and it's like
well,
the
it's
pride
funny
of showing it off.
when I was doing the rebuild on this. So I had this rebuild actually took many years because I I came to Arizona and did my master's degree. And I got hired by Coca-Cola, and so I lived in Europe for 20 years
Oh
and
wow,
worked overseas. In the meantime, the Mini, I had this German guy who was an auto body guy in Simi Valley. He good guy, known him forever and ever. A guy named Hans Wesky, and he did the body and paint. But you know, and then I had my stepfather pick it up and trailer it back to Vegas, and I said, "Look, just start rebuilding it, and I'll talk you through it." And slowly and surely, we were getting there. And then I came back for a couple weeks, and I'd go there, visit my mom, and be basically at the shop for 2 weeks, pulling it together. And then long and short, we moved back to the U.S. and got the car back, and then realized that there was something wrong with the motor, and so now I'm taking it apart again. But since the last 20 years, I've maybe put maybe 100 miles on it, nothing,
Wow.
which is
wow.
crazy because it's all I rebuilt the suspension completely, and I and that you talk about photography. When I was rebuilding, I was on the hoist. I'm on there taking pictures because I ceramic coated the exhaust manifold, and so it's got a nice little chrome silver color to it, and just the underside of a brand new suspension and suspension arms and the upgraded trailing arms and upgraded. I put a rear roll bar on it.
Nice.
Yeah, and slowly over the course of time, I bought a couple Roki dashes that were in need of repair. So I peeled off the veneer, and then I found some new veneer. And on this one, I put a rosewood veneer, and I can show you that in a minute. But one of the cool things is I've got another Mini. I've got a Countryman, a '61
Oh wow.
that that that's my sleeper resto mod. So Scrap Art Shawn, you know about specialist components over in your back neck of the woods. I had them build a motor for me, so and they've
Oh,
actually
there we
Ah,
go.
they got it on YouTube. So it's on. If you go to their YouTube page, you'll see 1310 Supercharged. So I have a 1310 with the 16 valve head with a Rotrex supercharger that put out 185 horsepower. So I don't know how I'm going to keep the wheels on the ground, but
hopes and prayers, I think.
yeah, yeah, no, it's crazy. So, but that motor, I mean, the sad part is I did that motor nearly 10 years ago, and they burned it in on the dyno, and I haven't run it since. So it's like, God, fingers
Man,
crossed it still works. But those guys are good guys. They make a hell of a good motor. So, but
definitely.
that project's just going slow and slow and slow. So,
Where's that car?
that's actually in Simi Valley, actually. So
Oh,
it's in
if you
my
need
dad's
somebody
garage.
to drive it, let me know.
Well, it doesn't run at the moment. The motor's in just to mock everything up. But what I did do, and this is pretty cool, I saw some guys in the UK. They used the boot hinges off of the BMW 325.
Okay.
And so what I did was I welded the fender and the hood and the front grille, and I have it clamshell open like an
Oh,
Austin Healey, like a
cool.
bug eye, right?
Oh, cool, cool.
But so we fabricated using the articulating hinges of the boot lid for the BMW. So it has one of these things. So because I thought to myself, this car, if I need to do any work, I don't want to be fighting between fenders and stuff. And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I want to, the idea is to make the car look like a sleeper. So it's my idea is a cream white, or I've seen kind of a mint cream white with a white roof and red interior. But the Roki dash that I made for that one, I found fantastic wood. So I veneered that, and it kind of has it's called zebra wood. So it has this beautiful striped lines in it, and I'll put
Mm.
the magnolia gauges in that one. And I think it's gonna look really really nice when it's done. But maybe
There's
I'll hit it by retirement and finish that one up by then. But who knows?
There you go. There's nothing like a fire breathing
Oh
like
yeah.
sleeper mini, like they're so because everyone's like, oh, it's so cute, and then you fire it up and it's like wah, 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 wah. I
Just the
love that.
dirtiest cam going.
Yeah,
Well, it's like when I first saw when I read about specialist components in the motor, and then they had this one video. They had this Clubman van, and it was just when he goes around the corner, you hear him going through the gears, and you just hear it, and it just sounds great. And that one
yeah.
didn't have the Rotrex supercharger on it, so if you guys afterwards you go onto the specialist components YouTube page, and then I think it says Shawn's motor, and then what's funny is when they're dynoing it and then they let off the throttle, you hear the Rotrex supercharger wind down.
Oh,
It's
Love
really
that's
it.
fun.
sick.
Yeah, it's really cool. So
Yeah, they make some awesome engines.
yeah, no, they got some good stuff, and the guys at MED, they're great. I just wish that all these companies were around about. Well, maybe
Yeah,
they were, but I wish that I had access to all the stuff that they were making like 20 years ago.
exactly.
Oh, but
Yeah, I mean, the internet kind of brought us all together here, and because I'm sure a lot of them were around, but like you were kind of dealing with the hot rod shops in Simi or or something
well,
like that,
the,
right?
the 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 name of the game was David Vizard, and
Yeah.
he was the guy that was basically doing all these different things, and all of a sudden, I remember his book was like more air, get more air into the chamber, and it's like, okay, well here's a crossflow head, boom, go with that.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I actually put on that. So I still have the original head, but I've put an aluminum crossflow on it, and then I've got the specialist components fuel injection kit for it. So
Oh.
Nice.
I I've we talked earlier. I'm done with Lucas ignition, and I'm done with SU carburetors, and I don't even touch a Weber. So you know,
Who? Somebody had that setup that I know. I don't know if he's been on or not, but have you been following Cole from Classic Mini DIY with his whole kind of resto mod setup?
yeah,
Yeah.
Cole's putting the one and that's a nice kit that Specialist comes out with. It's a simple one for your standard 5-port head, um, and I think that's really handy. I mean, it just you eliminate so many issues and problems.
Yeah, I'm really curious to kind of see how all of this plays out because it is something. I always say I joke I'm a purist. I'm not, but I like the aspect. I haven't gotten enough of the classic, tinkering with the SUs and that. I like that kind of stuff. But I definitely see later on down the road as I'm tired of messing with it. I just want to drive it converting one of my minis to something like that and just being able to turn it on and go. You have the little ECU just running everything. You still have the A series engine. You still have all those kind of components to it, but it just works. I mean,
Have you
hopefully, I don't know. We'll see.
have you seen the Acaso ACASO guys? The motor that they've been building. You got to
Doesn't
look
ring a
into
No.
it.
bell. What
Okay,
is it?
so there's these guys. They're working on the fastest mini project. They're going to race it down in Latin America. I think it's Brazil.
Uh
This
huh.
engine, they've taken the A series engine and redesigned it to where it has 5 main bearings. All right, so it's 5 bearings instead of the 3 like we've got.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably the mini engine done the way it should have been. So it fits within the architecture of an A series block, and so you can mount it right on a series mini transmission.
Hmm.
But the block is aluminum.
Oh.
Ooh.
So you check it out, ACASO, and they're working with CAD, I believe, on this, and it's just and you look at and the amazing is so it's a full, you watch this big block go into this articulating CNC machine, and when it comes out, it looks like this chrome piece of jewelry. It's amazing, amazing. I don't even want to know the price tag on it. I really don't. But it's absolutely it's like you sit there and you go, okay, now that's awesome. Somebody said, I got enough go to hell money. I'm gonna do this motor the way it should have been done, and it just, now you can just go crazy with the horsepower as long as with the five bearings there. It's crazy.
It's
I think
Absolutely
insane.
I
awesome.
found. I think I found it here.
You
Classic
find it?
Mini A plus. Oh, is that it? Yeah. Holy
Yeah.
moly!
ACASO, Acaso.
It's wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's blinging.
Yeah,
I'll
I
have
think
to read about
I
this.
think what you need to do in one of your next shows is try to interview those guys, because I mean it's crazy. And I
Wow.
thought
Yeah.
I thought they were doing some work with specialist components, but then I think they started doing work with CAD. So CAD and specialists, they have competing heads, and so
Uh huh.
but
Yeah.
it's
I'm
pretty
trying to see.
awesome.
Is it ASCASO?
No, no,
Ascaso,
it
maybe?
should be ACASO, I think. If I'm
I don't
wrong on the
know.
spelling.
I don't know. It's pulling up. I did find that what it looks like, but it's a Facebook post, not by them. And then everything else in it is an espresso machine. So
No,
I'll
no,
have to dig
no,
deeper.
no, it's not espresso, but
The
yeah,
world's
An
fastest
espresso
coffee.
company.
the world's fastest coffee. Exactly.
It's
So,
like sometimes scrapyard. I don't know when sometimes you type in classic mini in the United States into Google and it pulls up like this mini Nintendo system and it's like what
Oh, it does my head in. Every time I try and Google
the
something and you type in Classic Mini, that's all it comes. It drives me up the wall. Yeah, I
because
get
what
if you
drives
the
type
me
in
crazy
mini.
is you type Mini Cooper and you get the new ones. I'm like,
same.
That's what I was just gonna say,
Exactly.
but you have to put classic in front of it because I can't
yeah,
find.
yeah,
Searching on eBay is a nightmare because if you type in Mini Cooper, even if you type in classic Mini, it pulls up brand new Mini parts. I'm
I
like,
found a
come
loophole
on.
though. I found a loophole for it. You just type in Austin or Morris and then Mini, and then it comes up
yeah,
with
Yeah,
everything you need, and
yeah,
it's perfect.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I sometimes just go and search on the UK eBay, and it's much better. But
Yeah.
yeah, Austin or Morris, that just type
Yeah.
all of them: Austin, Morris, Leland, Rover, Mini, and it'll pop up.
Yeah. Have you guys had Cole on your show before? He seems like a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, I've had him on
Yeah.
twice. He was just on again not too long ago because he was one of the first episodes we did. Cole and I have chatted a lot over the years.
He's in Northern California, isn't he? Or where is he?
No, he's in South Carolina, I believe, or
Oh, right. Okay.
one of
Okay.
the Carolinas. Yeah, one of the
Right.
Carolinas. So
Right.
I'll forgive
Okay.
you for not having listened to any of the episodes yet, but it's
I've got a new name for you, Mike, because you
okay.
like messing with SU carburetors. We're going to call you Mike, Mini Masochist Mike. Because
Oh.
Oh.
I don't know. Yeah,
I said this
I got
before.
some years. I got some years on you. I've had my fill of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I was kicking myself. I went on this road trip up north, like northern Idaho, or in all across Idaho in my Mini, and I was kicking myself because I didn't even think elevation change, and then I was just like so rich. I couldn't get past like 4,000 RPMs, and it would just puff a big black smoke cloud out, and
Yeah.
I was trying to adjust the needle and like I forget, shove it up or pull it down, whatever, which way it
Yeah.
works,
Yeah.
and it just didn't work. I was like, what an idiot, loser.
Yeah. And I think if I was driving along with you, I'd be like, vroom.
Yeah.
Wait.
And the worst part was I was by far the slowest car there because there was a lot of classic Porsches and just
Oh, right.
some cool. So I was like, I could hang in the corners, but like any straight, I was just like, meh. I had zero power.
It's funny you talking about the corners, because you guys have seen the Mini versus the Mustang.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. I was on Mulholland Drive one night, and there was a guy, and Scrapyard. You probably know about Mulholland Drive, right? Have you heard
Oh
about it?
yes. Oh
Yeah. So,
yes.
so it's just this beautiful, winding, just bit of road where all the street racers go. And one night there was some guy in a Mustang, and he had a 350, and he was And it was typical mini Mustang thing where I just beep, 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 and he'd just catch up to me in the straightaways, and I'd lose him in the corners. And it was it's just so much fun. But so that's what the other engine's for, to lose those Mustangs with my
Lose them.
125 horsepower
No
on the
more cat and
straightaway.
mouse.
Yeah.
That's
The only
epic.
fear I have about that motor is that I need a fifth speed because we changed the gearing in it, so I wouldn't be going deaf at highway speed. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I was toying and I just got a new gearbox and I was toying with the idea of a fifth gear just because I do drive long distances to go to canyons or
yeah.
LA or whatever it is, and it's like I don't know. It wasn't worth it to me
I
yet.
know.
So
What are your guys? What have you heard? Because when I was talking to the guy, specialist component, I said to him, I said, listen, I'd really like to put a fifth speed, and they're like, yeah, we don't know about that. And now 5 years later, they're offering the motor with a 5 speed, and I'm like, okay, so maybe things have changed, but
yeah, I haven't heard a ton. I forget. I've talked to a few guys that have had it and they like it, but it's nothing like I've never heard anyone like you gotta get the fifth speed, blah blah blah. So I don't know. I think it's kind of just like a little bit of an overdrive type of situation.
well,
So
yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just
yeah,
it's kind of like on the MGB. My buddy had an MGB. We'd be driving, he'd flip a switch and going over. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
yeah,
That's very cool. So
exactly. So
wish I.
what's the update on the red one that's sitting behind us? What's how much longer on this engine? What's going on? When
Well,
are you gonna start driving it?
the engine is actually right here on the stand, and I don't know what your guys' experience has been, but the challenge is a lot of machine shops are just closing
Backed
up
up. Yeah,
because
closed up or
now
backing or
it's
backed
now
up.
it's like, okay, well, I'll just buy a crate motor and put it in, and then I mean, so I think the trick is finding an old school machinist that
Yeah.
really knows how to use their equipment. And I found one, but they were just blocked up. So it took them, I mean, just to literally line bore, just simple surfacing and prep. It was like I had to wait like 3 months. So it's just like,
Yeah.
okay.
Oof.
And now I've got it. And then I just realized, where's my fly? Where's my timing pulley? And I sent an email to the guy with, oh yeah, we've got them. I'm like, well, thank you for calling me. Give me a break, guys. But the
Yeah.
interesting thing is that I have two Cooper S engines because one of them, when I bought the Woody, or I call it the Woody, the Countryman, um, it had a Cooper S engine with it, and it was I didn't know what condition it was in, so I broke that apart, and I'm like, okay, looks pretty all right, and then took the crank out, and I only had to turn it to 10 over, so I was like, oh, that's great. So it's a beautiful shape, but so I've got two motors going, but the second motor, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do because I'm thinking about putting one of the Arrow crankshafts, the webbed crankshafts that have the nice counterbalance to it. I think Nate did that on a couple motors, and those are supposed to be pretty good, but it's not cheap. So,
No.
but this motor, actually, my plan was this weekend was to put the cam and the crank in, but got some other projects around the house, so it's going to be deferred to next weekend. So
I hear you. Yeah, hopefully
yeah,
I'm keeping my
the
my
honey-do list is bigger than the Shawn do list. I can tell you that. So,
It
yeah.
forever grows as well, doesn't it? It never ends.
it's like a scroll. Yeah.
Just like somewhere in there, just like carrot in, like put camshaft in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just one of those things where you just, if I've made a vow to myself not to get myself in a rush. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
if I can cut out and just do it nice and slow, then I'll enjoy it and I won't get pissed off. I mean, when I was
Yeah.
younger, when I was 17, 18, I was in a damn hurry to do everything, and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of learn by when you cut corners and you do something and you just put a bandage on it, and then
Yep.
you realize, okay, and it's just a learning process. So I'm actually I really had an objective to get everything put together much earlier because at the end of October there was a car show and that actually Scottsdale from an automotive standpoint. So I lived all around the world. I lived in Moscow, I lived in Zurich, and I lived in all these crazy wealthy cities where you'd see Ferraris and Bentleys and all this like mad. I have
Hmm.
never seen in my life more McLarens than I have here in Scottsdale. I mean, it's just maddening to where my son's like, "Oh, there's another McLaren," just to even have that phrase, right?
Yeah.
But now is when all the we call them the snowbirds, all the people from the north, they come into Scottsdale. They got the second home. The guy lives across the street from me. He lives here 5 months out of the year, and then he goes back to Seattle when the weather gets super hot here. But there are people here in this area that have incredible cars. There's a guy that drove by. I had my garage open one day, and somebody stops and walks in and says, "Wow, you got a Cooper S?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "I used to have one. I just sold it like a couple of months ago." And I said, "Oh, that's awesome." And he says, "But I've got my dream car," which is the introductory to lead into the question. Okay, what is your dream car? And he tells me he has a '65 Shelby Cobra, and I'm like,
All right.
said, I said, what is it about 1.6, 1. 2 million. I got it. As I'm like, and he says, matter of fact, there is there's a once a year car show at this really pretentious jeweler, and they do this thing in the parking lot. I mean, holy crap. Okay. There was not just one, he was there, but then there was four other original Shelbys there, Cobras there. And
Wow.
then to just put it on top, you had some of the finest 1960s Ferraris there, like
Yeah.
the Lusos, and it's just like, and so I'm taking my sons through the parking lot, going and looking at all these cars. I'm like, now if a bomb dropped here, guys, this is probably the equivalent of about $200 million gone
Yeah.
up in smoke. And
Yeah.
they were just like, but in this neighborhood, there's this grocery store. It's small. It's kind of like a oh heck, I don't know. It's called Sprouts, but there's this
Oh,
one Sprouts where these guys show up every Saturday, and they're a bunch of Porsche guys. But then there's a couple guys. There's a guy who's got an Austin Healey. He's got an M Austin Healey M, and it's just like, and they just sit there and they sit up there and have coffee, and I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that's cool. So one day I'm like, okay, I got to get the car ready so I can just pull up there and go, hey guys, how's it
Yeah. Yeah.
going?
Yeah.
Just have some fun,
Definitely.
talk car. But you don't see that many minis, which I want to get that out there so have some fun with it. But I tell you, the car scene here is stupid, mad, crazy.
That's funny that you said that.
Matter of fact, I put a video out. I filmed it. 1964 Aston Martin DB4 GT Zagato.
I think I saw that
One,
silver one.
yep,
Yeah, I
silver.
saw it.
And there was 20 made, and there's only 19 left.
Wow.
And this guy was driving it up,
Just
and
cruising.
I handed my phone to my wife. I'm like, film it. And then I researched it up. This guy bought this at Pebble Beach for $9 million. And I'm just
Jeez.
like,
Just cruising it.
you know what? The guy's driving it.
Good
Awesome.
on
Fair
him.
play to him. Yeah, definitely. At least it's
Right.
being used.
Oh man, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
God.
when I was there, I saw multiple Ferraris and stuff. I was like, "What the hell?" Like, I didn't realize that because I'm used to
Oh,
Malibu. I would go to Malibu and park
oh yeah.
next to a freaking McLaren and all it's just Lamborghinis and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's
Great.
so strange. But yeah, I didn't know that about Scottsdale. But
Oh man.
it's
And
an interesting area for sure.
there's a couple places that have these massive garages where you walk in and they take care of the cars for the people that don't see the cars for 7 or 8 months of the year. I
Gotcha.
walk in there and there was four 1960s Aston Martins, and it's just overkill. It's crazy. It's just this is Pebble Beach pretty much every day from October to March. It's crazy.
Well, it's pretty dry there year round, right? Like it
Oh yeah,
doesn't. There's not a
yeah.
lot of precipitation, so it's not a bad spot to have a expensive car.
Yeah, except you got to be careful of the tires. If you don't drive it, there's
Yeah,
more blowouts here because the tires just get too dry and they
yeah,
blow. But
yeah, yeah.
sorry, a bit of a digression from the mini talk, but it's all car related.
No,
So,
it's car related. Hey,
That's
listen,
it.
we don't stay on track very often on this podcast, so. Well, Shawn, I think I mentioned towards the beginning of actually before we recorded, we do a little something called the Patty Probe here.
oh man, I'm in trouble.
So, somewhat controversial questions in the mini world. So
All right,
we got to get your take on it.
fire away.
I think one of everyone's favorites is what is your favorite mini variant? Say less. He's pointing to the
Cooper
his
S.
Cooper S. You
No,
can't go wrong.
my favorite. 66. It's a Mark One Cooper S.
Yeah.
I didn't. I always thought the Mark II would be. I always thought the tail lamps of the Mark II were pretty cool, but then I'm like, no, the Mark Ones. There's just something cool about those. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then the mustache on the Mark One. It's just something that's. It's the first, and it's always to me going to be the quintessential definition of a mini. And then of course the Woody, as I would call it, but the Countryman. Yeah. So
Yeah. No, that's a good one. You should. Oh wait, no, you're doing a crazy engine build on that one, so never mind. I was gonna say.
afterwards, I'll send you some emails, but I know you guys
Yeah.
are going to look up the motor on Specialist Components YouTube page, so that'll be a laugh.
I'm getting it
First
pulled
thing I'm
up.
doing at the end of this.
Yeah. You've had this mini for a long time. What is your favorite mini modification that you've done, or we know what you're planning to do, but what's one that you really have enjoyed?
Um, so there's two modifications. There's one that's mechanical and there's one that's more cosmetic, and that was on the mechanical was putting the 7-port cross flow head with the Specialist Components fuel injection kit.
I could only imagine.
I
Yep.
mean, the coolest thing was turning the key and then just click and it go boom, and it was running.
Listen, if
So
you can tune your SU perfectly, mine does that. I'm just saying. No, just
Shots fired, Mike. Jeez.
okay,
I've
return
said it.
volley,
I've
return
said
volley,
it.
come here.
I've
You know
said it
what?
before. My favorite compliment I ever got was I had my car at an exhaust shop and like, man, you got that carb tuned so perfectly. I was like, oh, yeah. I don't think it is, but it's just.
Yeah, did you hear what you said? Carb, not carbs.
Yeah, there. Okay, touche, touche, touche. Oh man,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah. And then the interior modification was, the Roki Dash. I sealed up one of the glove boxes, and then I refilled it in, and then put three extra gauges. So I've got an
I saw
ammeter.
that. I saw that on one of the Facebook groups, and it looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's nice. Thanks. So it was a bit of playing around, but it's great. And I put a clock, I have an ammeter, and then I have an oil temperature gauge on top of it. What was really cool, I don't, Mike, I don't know if you know, there was a San Fernando Valley Instruments. There was a guy out
Yep.
in Northridge, and this guy would repair all the Smith's gauges. And I mean,
Yeah.
he was old 20 years ago. But what I asked him to do was to make new faces of the gauges for me, because I got a gauge that was in centigrade and I had him convert it into Fahrenheit. And so, and make an oil temperature gauge in Fahrenheit from, it was a centigrade sweep, but then he modified it for me. So that was cool. But
I feel like they're still around. I don't.
I'm sure they are.
But
I just remember walking in there and the guy was older than dirt and nicest guy in the world. But, it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever heard of Ed Pink. Ed Pink's like a legend, and he was Cosworth engine, hot rods, just amazing guy.
yeah,
But this guy, I forget, I'm sure I've got the business card somewhere around, but I still remember San Fernando Valley Instruments, and they did all the I mean the Smith's gauges, and so that answers that question. My interior, what I did. Oh, actually, I don't know how this is going to work if I can pick up my camera.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, this is going to a mess here. So I always loved these seats, and I always thought they might be too big, but these are these Cobras,
Oh yeah.
and they're just too damn wide. But I got the nice Lamborghini logo.
I
But
was
the
gonna
thing
say
was,
that fits in the car.
I mean, okay, see
Barely.
here, yeah, that's a bit
Oh man, that's
tight.
all on the door shut.
Yeah, but the thing is, sorry. So there's
Oh,
so that
nice.
That's such a cool dash. It really looks like the old wooden picket style.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's I mean, it's the Roki dash, and I just redid it, and then I put the tack here. I don't know if you can see it
Yeah, I
right there.
like that.
No,
I
I
like
love
when the
that.
tacks are there. Yeah. I tried to do that on mine. I just couldn't get it to work very well.
Yeah,
So.
I did a little bracket work on it, but yeah. So
Very nice.
So cool. Clean.
yeah, it's it's needing some TLC, but and then here's the block. Oh, there we go. And then
Lovely.
here you go, buddy. Now this is my solution to the SU.
Oh wow.
Oh yes.
Wow. Would you look at that?
And then the head's down below there, right there.
Oh, nice. And this is getting me pumped to get into the garage. I'm gonna get mine fired back up.
Yeah.
Do it, man.
So,
Love it. That's sick.
yeah.
Beautiful car. Beautiful car.
Thanks, man.
All right. Here, this is definitely a fan favorite here. Shawn is
All right.
if you could have a drink, coffee, beer, or tea with one mini celeb, who would it be?
One mini celeb, living or dead?
Anybody.
Either.
Hmm. Huh. I don't know. It's yeah, that's a I there's a lot of people I'd love to just get into the mini and take a spin with. And I think
Yeah.
one of them might be Michael Caine, just for shits and
Yeah.
giggles.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But James Bond, Sean Connery. Now that would be, as you say,
Oh.
scratch on the dog's bollocks. That would be.
Oh man, that completely caught me off guard. Then I was not ready for that. 100% right though. He is the dog's bollocks. Yeah.
Yeah. And just wait for me to tell Mini Mike to get on his bike. Yeah. The expressions in the UK are fantastic. On your bike, Mike. Yeah.
That's on your back.
Oh yeah.
Sod
I always
off,
look
yeah.
up random. I always look random ones up and just start like firing them off, and it like doesn't even make sense.
I mean, you could say Steve McQueen would be an awesome guy to go for a spin in the mini because he had a mini,
Yeah.
as well. But
Yeah.
actually, probably one person that'd be really fun to go for a ride in the mini would be Ralph Nader.
Okay.
Do you know who Ralph Nader is, Mike?
Yeah. Did he have a mini?
No, he wrote the book Unsafe at Any Speed, and due to his regulation writings, the Mini couldn't be imported in the U.S.
Oh, is that what?
Oh, is that why?
Good old
I
Ralph
never
Nader.
knew that.
Son of a gun. I was gonna
'cause,
say, where's the connection there? But okay.
when the GM Corvairs were doing flips, and he wrote his book Unsafe at Any Speed, the Mini came into the
That's
target zone.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
right.
I knew about the Corvairs, but I didn't know about the minis.
Yeah,
Dun, dun,
yeah. So I mean,
dun.
due to his push for legislation, it just made the Minis, I mean, and
Um,
to be frank, the chrome strips that we call bumpers, they don't do much.
ah,
Nah.
they're just for show.
Yeah, they're just to look good.
All
Sean,
right. Well,
have you
I
got a
hope
roll
those
cage in
three were all
yours?
right. Pardon me?
No.
Do you have a roll cage in yours, or is it?
No. And I was toying with putting one in, but then I looked at it, and it's like the rear part that just bolts right into the wheel well. I'm like, well, that's not going to do much. And I mean,
Got a point.
but in the Woody that I'm working on, I'm trying to find a fabricator that can basically do one custom because I don't. I've seen a couple, like there's a couple Woody clubmans out there on the racing circuit, and they design them for racing, and so they just kind of eliminates the back seat completely. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking that through. I still got a lot more engineering thinking to do because I'd like to put a fuel cell in the back of it, just for safety thing. But
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes
Awesome.
sense. Cool.
yeah,
Awesome. Shawn, I appreciate you being on, and maybe we will run into each other one day, either in Simi or Scottsdale or somewhere in between. So,
yeah, I'll be out seeing me way for Thanksgiving, but
all right.
I'm not driving anything.
Maybe I'll have mine back on the road by then. That's coming up real quick, so I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, 2 weeks, man.
I'm gonna go hit the garage right now.
There you go. Absolute pleasure chatting with you guys, and
Absolutely, I
Good
appreciate
stuff,
it.
my man. Thanks for coming on.
yeah, absolutely. And Mike, I'll send you some pictures just for entertainment value of
Please
some
do.
of
No,
the
I'll
stuff
post
with
them
it.
up on the Instagram page.
Awesome. All right,
All
beautiful guys.
right.
Well, thanks for sharing time in my garage today, and I wish
Absolutely.
you guys well. And Scrapyard, I know the weather's getting a bit warm out there. Ha ha.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheerio. I'll
Yeah.
catch you guys on the next one.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks. Take care.